Thank you. Chairman Denham, I think I am dead last. Thank you, though, for holding this hearing. I really appreciate it, and I know that you know that I've been very concerned about this, and I've spoken with you on a number of occasions about pipeline spills in my district. And this ongoing rulemaking is something I've been following very closely, particularly since I had a pipeline spill in a community that I represent in Los Angeles, the community of Wilmington. And I think part of what concerns me is that our pipeline safety is completely dependent on simply taking the word of the operators. And this was precisely the problem in Wilmington, where Phillips 66 reported to the State of California and PHMSA that the pipeline that they operated was empty. They even tried to tell me it was idle, which is apparently not even a category, when in reality it held over 1,000 gallons of oil. And when this pipeline ruptured, it spilled a lot of barrels of oil into a residential community. And so if operators can't meet their end of the bargain to know and report what is in their pipeline to ensure the public safety, I believe our Federal agencies need to do more. And I really urge you to continue to act in the name of public safety first and foremost. And Mr. Butters, I will just echo what everyone said here. It's unbelievable that this relatively simple rule, which has universal support, is still pending. And I know you've spoken that a lot. But I think in my community, no one knew the danger of this particular pipeline. So let me just move from the record keeping, which is part of this rule, which is still pending, and how your agency will define high consequence areas. There's hundreds of pipelines in Southern California, many of which are inactive, many of them are active. There's lots of pipelines in my district, and I'm concerned about another accident. I was particularly frustrated with this spill in Wilmington, which resulted in only a $75,000 fine against Phillips 66. This really, clearly was not on the same level as San Bruno, but my residents were highly inconvenienced. Roads were damaged, yards were damaged, jackhammers, which went to try to discover and stop this leak, completely disrupted the streets for a week. People couldn't even get out of their houses or back into their houses. So can you give me some assurance and my constituents that there will be appropriate penalties for spills in, quote, high consequence areas?
Thank you, ma'am. As part of the rulemaking process, that's exactly what this will do. It will be a notice of proposed rule, which will outline what we believe should be the appropriate penalties and actions. We're going to seek input on that from the public, from other stakeholders as well. We want to ensure that we have the necessary incentives, if you will, to do things safely. As you pointed out, the situation in Wilmington, the operators are required to know their own systems. And in this case, there's no such thing as an idle pipeline. It's either abandoned or it's an active line.
Right. And when it's abandoned, there is a specific process that takes place. It's cleaned out, it's sealed, and if it's active, there's inspection procedures in place. So for them to claim that it was idle meant that they did neither. They neither cleaned it out and cemented it on both ends, nor did they have this regular, zipping through the pipeline on regular inspections. This put my community at risk.
And we certainly appreciate and understand that. One of the things I wanted to say about the civil penalties, obviously, we do have limitations on what civil penalties we can enforce, but at the same time, in order for a pipeline operator to either restart a line, we dictate usually a very extensive corrective action order that in order to comply with that order costs quite a bit of investment of capital and require a lot of these operators to do that, and it can run into the millions and millions of dollars. So we want to ensure that before they bring a pipeline back into service, that they have addressed thoroughly all the safety considerations that need to be addressed.
Right, and I've even suggested, this was about a purchase 15 years earlier of this pipeline. I've even suggested that we have a third party verify when they try to tell us it's inactive, idle. And the other thing, we had a big misunderstanding with the California Fire Marshal on this issue in terms of how they interpreted our Federal law and the classifications of pipelines. So can you tell me what PHMSA has done in the last couple of years to improve how our states are interpreting the Federal law, and maybe what actions are being taken to improve this relations? That was half my battle, was with the California Fire Marshal and how they saw this, the Federal law applying to active, inactive, idle.
Sure. In California, the California Fire Marshal has regulatory oversight over liquid lines. The Utility Commission has over gas lines. Part of our training program with our state partners is to ensure that these agencies understand the regulations, and there are times where the understanding interpretation isn't what it needs to be. When we identify that, we act on it, and it's a continuing activity with us, with our states. As you know, we provide funding to the states to support their inspection program. Part of that program includes ensuring that they understand the regulations and how they should be applied. But obviously, there are going to be situations where there are some inconsistencies, and when we find out about those, when we're made aware of those, we act very quickly to address them.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the extra time.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn.
I yield back.
Mr. Capuano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this, and I thank the panel for being indulgent with your time, and my colleagues as well. I hope you take away the importance of this issue. I've never seen more members attend a hearing and stay as long as they have to ask questions. Yeah. This is an issue that's important personally to a lot of members, which is why I let my other colleagues go, because fortunately I've had no personal experience with these items. Many of my colleagues has, if you heard them, and I think if nothing else speaks volumes, it should be the fact that they're still here, and every single Democratic member wanted to speak. I think only 2 members had to leave because they had previous commitments, and they wanted to speak as well. I think you've heard a lot of the frustration. For me, these issues, a lot of these issues are new, and to be perfectly honest, as I learn more and more about them, I'm amazed at how many issues we have on the table and how many open issues we have. There's too many of them, and they're not new. Just a quick list. We've got the 111 cars. We've got positive crane control, first responder notice, in-cab video just on the rail side. On the pipeline side, we've got the automatic shutoff, the remote shutoff, pipeline integrity, pressure management, the grandfather clause, and HCAs, which is an interesting term in itself. Basically, you should just say cities, but that's a different issue altogether. And on top of that, we've got the NTSB that has been calling for various regulations forever. Forever. We've had Congress on several occasions had to put in statute how long it should take to do these things, and that's been blown by. Now, I don't want to, besmirch either Ms. Feinberg or you, Mr. Butters. You're both new to your terms, but you're not new to the issue. Mr. Hahn, I guess the question I have to ask you is not specifically on the specific items. We have to reauthorize PHMSA reasonably soon. Should we? Or should we come up with something new? Is it working? Is it not working? And again, I'm not trying to besmirch the agency, but there's something wrong. There's something wrong, and I'm not sure, as one member, whether it's both agencies have become a captive of the industry. You won't be the first regulatory agency to become a captive of those you're supposed to regulate. And I'm not trying to kill the railroads. Railroads are important to this country. We need to be able to transport goods, but we need to be able to do it in a safe manner. And to be perfectly honest, taking 4 years for a regulation, there's no excuse, period, none. On an issue like this, it's not that complicated. Either you do it or you don't. Canada did it in about a blink. We now have, I've never seen this, we have a major rail company that's ahead of the regulators. They're about to stop the use of 111s and lower their speeds without being told to do so. That's amazing to me. I've served the entire time here on the Financial Services Committee. No bank has ever done that. And yet, here we are. And by the way, when that happens, what's going to happen to the more dangerous cars? They're going to be shifted. They're going to be shifted out of Canada, and they're going to be shifted off of that one rail company's rail lines into my area. How is that right? Mr. Hahn, should we reauthorize PHMSA? And if we should, what should we do to make sure that this works?
I'll take the liberty of taking the reauthorization question as a rhetorical question, but I would like to say that we have experience in other industries where we certainly need the regulators. We need regulators at the appropriate levels. But what has worked best in many industries to improve their safety is collaboration among everybody in pursuit of a common goal, which is improving safety. And that's what we find works best, is not just pushed by the regulator, but everybody collaborating to work together toward a common goal.
So where's the problem here? Is it at PHMSA? Is it the individual agencies? Is it OMB? I mean, is it the secretary? These rules are kind of around. First of all, we don't have half the rules that I think we should have, and the ones we do have seem to be lost somewhere in the secretary's desk, or somehow lost in OMB. And by the way, we don't even know what's in the rules that are lost. What kind of a process is this? And how do I make it better? Whose butt do we have to kick? Whose budget do we have to cut? Whose budget do we have to enhance to make this work?
The best I can say on that again is that the experience, and I'm speaking specifically of the aviation industry, they have such a powerful collaboration that has improved their safety over the years without new regulations, without the Federal regulator plays a role in that process, to be sure, but the real advances have come because of the power of collaboration.
The aviation industry has other problems. I mean, they can't seem to be getting all the things we all want actually in place, but that's at least a different issue. Ms. Feinberg, Mr. Butters, I really don't have questions. My time is up anyway, because I have so many questions. It's not worth the 5 minutes to do it. Plus, we've met privately. We'll be meeting again. The more I learn, the more I realize we got to make this work. And if you need help, you need to ask. You need to tell us what you need. Otherwise, it'll become something a lot more controversial, because it'll become something more face-to-face. And that's not helpful. That's not what I want to do. It's not what you want to do. Tell us how to help you as we go forward, and we'll try to do it. And if we can't, we'll tell you then. At least let us know what the problems are. But to sit here and tell us that we're working on it 18 months, 4 years, that's not acceptable. You would never accept that if you were on this side of the table. And please don't expect us to. I look forward to next year, and again, I thank the Chairman for his indulgence. I thank my members for showing up, and I thank the panel for helping us out on this.